Well, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Dixon here, president of the Direct Selling Executives Forum. Super excited for our session today. This is a topic that we unpacked at the DSEF 3 years ago, and a lot has changed in the last 3 years. And so, as you were asking questions, and Gail was gathering them in the forum on how to attract sheroes from your organization, I knew that I wanted to invite Belynda Lee out to speak on this session today. Belynda, thank you so much for joining us today. We're just pumped to have you here. Good to have you on.
I'm looking forward to the discussion today. It's a hot topic.
It is. Now, for those of you that don't know Belynda, she's dialing in from Dubai to be here today. Belynda Lee worked in Asia, North America, and now the Middle East, has an exceptional track record demonstrating self-motivation and sustainable personal and corporate goals. She emphasizes organizational alignment, execution, and quality with a never-ending focus on ROI. She's a corporate executive with over 30 years of experience. So that means she got started when she was 1 year old, because you can see how young Belynda is, right? And she started her career in management in a New York-based day spa when she was 12 months old. And Elizabeth Arden, Red Door, leading the first spa in Alberta, Canada, and then expanded to Vancouver, BC, Canada, where she continued to bring her expertise in education industry and spearheaded the Brand Art Institute in Vancouver, BC. That is such a beautiful area when you serve as director of admissions. And here's why we've invited Belynda. For the last 18 years, she's been involved in the direct selling and network marketing space in business development, market expansion, strategic planning, operations, change management in both public and private direct selling companies, from vice president to a chief level position, working in both the public and private sectors. Now, the reason we invited Belynda, gang, is in addition to all that she's done in the direct selling space for almost 2 decades, she also hosts a podcast on women development and what women can do in this world and for women. And gang, when you think about attracting a shero, so a she hero, to your direct selling network marketing company, this is a hot topic. And so with that, we're just so grateful to have Belynda here. Now, if you're brand new to the Direct Selling Executives Forum and you haven't yet grabbed your free membership in the LinkedIn portal, it's invite only, gang, by other direct selling executives who come out and share on these events each week. Just go to LinkedIn and look for Direct Selling Executive Forum in your search bar, or you can go to directselling.executiveforum.com and fill out an application so you get access to all of these videos. Also, if you're watching on the stream and you're someone who likes to subscribe on YouTube or Spotify or Anchor FM, or maybe you're an Apple Podcast person, yes, these are available there as well. So to get access to more episodes, do go to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe so you can get these on the go and be able to listen in. All right. With that, I want to invite our host to come out for today. I'll be sitting on the panel with Belynda as we unpack this topic. Gail Ansado, who's been hosting our Women in Leadership series out of Davao City, Philippines. Gail, thank you for being here today and for hosting the session.
Thank you, Sir Ben, and welcome to today's DSEF, everybody. It's so great to have you here, Belynda. And in today's episode, we dive into a topic that's crucial for any organization looking to create a diverse and inclusive workforce. Our topic is how to attract sheroes to your referral marketing company. And in every industry, there are extraordinary women who are leading the way, breaking barriers, and making significant impact. And these sheroes are not only changing the narrative, but also inspiring others to follow in their footsteps. Now, our first question is, where do we start? What are the first steps that you would invite a corporate team to take as they prepare to create a framework to attract sheroes to their respective companies?
You know, when I first saw your questions, it's I have this sheroes. Okay, interesting. It's a she and a her, but a hero. So a woman wearing a cape.
Yes.
Thanks for the question. I think this is indeed a very hot topic, and everyone talks about it. And I think more and more so women are able to express themselves in many platforms and forums and educate others and the public and how to become sheroes. But I think the core question is actually, we look at the corporate side, is actually the culture of the corporation. We talk about wanting balance, we talk about wanting diversity, and I've sat on many C-level panels where I hear it quite a bit. And when I really dial down to it, asking the hot question is that, okay, out of your 100% of your employees, how many percent are females? And the numbers are fairly small. And at best, probably 30%, if not is 10-20%. And the 80% are consist of men. And why do we do that? Why do we say that we want diversity and balance, and yet so many seats are given to the men and so little to the women? We don't want to say that there's disparity, right? Because I think a woman is equally smart, is equally educated, but I think there's more and more education that needs to be done on the corporate side as well, as to bring in more female, interview them, and allow more seats for them to actually work in this capacity. Culture is extremely important. Of course, hiring a men and a woman is different, because the men will come into work, 40 hours, sometimes 50, 60, and sometimes women have to bury a child. And, they have a bear child, they're pregnant, and they have the maternity leave. So that's I would say, the only difference. But in the modern world of USA and in Canada, there is paternity leave that involves both men and women. So again, we're bringing the gap closer, but still the numbers are too small, because I think the connotation when we look at a woman is, okay, you have quite a bit of obstacles. You can actually carry out your core duties compared to a man who's got no problems at all. So that education itself needs to come from the core. I think culturally, the HR department needs to understand the difference between having a female employee and a male employee. And when a company or organization can actually overcome that, then we can start to attract sheroes into the company.
You know what I like about what you're saying? I always think about this too, is some of the direct selling companies we run into, they want to attract, younger people into their organization, or younger folks that say, man, all of our distributors, in their 60s or even 70s, because our big run was in the 80s or the 90s, or you'll hear this in meetings. And I'm always amazed when I look around the room and I'm like, it's all guys in this room. Like the board table will be, if it's 7, 8 guys that have all been working together for 22 years, it's like, have we hired any ladies? Because you'll get those insights, just to your point, Belynda, you'll get the insights on how to attract, younger women to come promote your direct selling products by having some women on the executive team that can help tailor your messaging and your culture and what you do to speak to those people. And so it's got to be more than just the field. I mean, the DSA puts out info where you see, oh wow, 80% of direct sellers in the United States are American or are women. Well, what is your executive team structure like? It's a great question, Belynda. Thanks for bringing it up.
You hit the nail, right? It's if you look at the direct sales industry, majority of the field is female. The female would be the first to say yes. The female is going to take up a position. The female is going to be, yeah, I'll take up the opportunity. And when it grows, the man comes in and they build it big. And that's the fact. But if you look at the corporation of a direct sales company, majority of men, and not only that, in the board, for example, in the C-level positions, how many of them are women? They may have some women, but a lot of the key positions are not women. They are men. And the low positions are given to the women. And so I ask myself, do these women have a say in decision making? It's great to hire them in-house, but do you allow them to speak? Mm-hmm. Do they have a voice? I think that ultimately is key.
Agreed. Yeah, I think Gail's got the next one. I was looking at what's coming in here. Let's unpack that further. Go ahead, Gail.
Yeah. The next question is actually, what elements are musts for creating a strategy to attract sheroes to their organization?
A great question again. And that also kind of continues from the first question, which is culture, accepting the females to come in, and most importantly, allowing them to be themselves and have a voice. Mm-hmm. That is key. I mean, we look at the decision-making leadership, and I can tell you, and Ben, you know the stats. I know you know the stats more than I do. And how many seats does a woman carry in an office? For the woman out there who's listening to this podcast, I wanted to say, when you're given the chance to sit on, to take a spot in that chair to make a decision, make good decisions, listen in and tune in to the facts, and really understand, what's happening in the environment, what's happening with your sales, your numbers. You got to understand your numbers. You got to understand the trend. You got to understand, the discussion that is happening in the room. Don't just speak because you have a voice. Speak when you have something to contribute. I think that's really key. When you're sitting in the boardroom with men and they're discussing some hot topics and you're just diving in because you have a voice, that is not going to help the position of the women. Already you're looking at, as I would call the minority sometimes, you got to be smart about it too as well. So do majority of the listening. When you have a voice to speak up clearly, boldly, but make sure you state your facts. And that's very important.
Yeah, I've seen that as well as is creating the space for this feedback. So if it is important, you think about what roles does it feed into. If you're the other element as a must is you think about field leadership roles on the corporate side. So many times we have a director of field leadership or director of field training or director of marketing. And so you think of like what role is it really important that we have someone who's most like our customer in? And so if 80% of your customers are female or 90% of your customers are female, it's like, well, should your director of marketing be a woman, or should your director of field leadership be a woman who could speak to how they would train that better? Because men and women are different. So we talk about how, well, we can all do the same things, but also wire differently and connect differently. And so that's why it's helpful to have those people in those roles.
Yes, absolutely. Creating that space that's needed for that to accommodate the questions and also the void.
Belynda, you talked about how you mentioned that women, when they get to a position, they shouldn't speak just because they have a voice, and that they have to speak clearly, boldly, and back it up with facts. What are some pitfalls that you've seen over the last year or over the past years that you'd encourage corporate teams to avoid when dealing with or attracting sheroes in general?
Again, very, very hot topic too as well. When we have the sheroes in the office, what do we do with them? What should they actually, how did it perform? Well, first of all, there is a lot of women out there that wants and have the desire and have the ambition to take on bigger roles. They have the ambition to become better and also to compete in the space with the men. Generally speaking, when I am working in an environment or in an office or corporation, I see men and women, but they act differently, they work differently, and they speak very differently. I find that the men generally are they're quite factual. They'll go to the point. There's actually no filter. There's really no filter with them. They're very straightforward. They'll bring up an issue and they'll lay it out on the table, and it goes, okay, this is what's happening. So how do we deal with it? I would say women's different. A woman would come in with a story and then another story, and then they'll hit the points, and then they present some of the errors and so forth. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that you have to know who you're working with too as well. And if you're working with somebody like a man who's really, there is no room of patience to listen to stories and so forth, they want the answers, then you need to drill down to the nitty-gritty and address that to the point. And that's understanding your co-workers, your peers, and even your superior. You really have to understand who you're working with. I've been in situations where I'm in an organization and I have to, I would say, work with a brand new group that has to restructure the department. And I'm a woman, but the whole department's men. Now, how do you work with them? And that's the reverse again, right? So you give me an example of top down. I'm giving you an example of bottom up. It's like, okay, so I now run a department of men. So what do I do? Generally speaking, goes back to the core, is that who are you working with and who are you talking to? And what are their capacities? And understanding them, doing a lot of listening. And the past year, I see that females like to speak before they listened. And generally, it's both genders, but I'm now addressing to the sheroes. The sheroes, all of you who is very ambitious and wants to really grow your career and, listen more and sometimes talk less is good. And what the men wants to see in sheroes is your action. you are now competing in the male dominant field where physically you have to be physically fit and mentally fit to compete in that level. So for the sheroes out there who wants to climb up the ladder, and for the companies who wants to attract sheroes, you really need to be able to understand whether you have the culture for it. Number one, are you able, when you bring them in, are you going to endure how they're going to work? Sheroes are going to work differently. Sheroes are going to be they're number one, ambitious. They are bold. You know, they're going to sit on the table and they're going to speak their mind, and sometimes a little bit more than what you like, but you have to accept that. And that's diversity. That's accepting by diversity into the company, is accepting their culture and their being themselves.
You know, one of the things we like to talk about on the panels are different book recommendations, and there's one that just came to mind from what you were sharing, Belynda, that I think is important for the team, is that anyone who's watching today, if you think about what Belynda shared, the world is so competitive today that we are all measured by our results. At the end of the day, whether you're a man or a woman, you're going to be measured by your results and your scorecard in your seat. And so if you are someone who wants to be the hero or shero of your organization and grow to the next level, you got to make sure that you're getting those results at the end of the day. Because if you're not, it won't last for long. Maybe you'll have a month to get it right. Maybe you have 2 months to get it right, 3 months to get it right, 6 months to get it right if you work in Europe, and then then you're out of there, right? And so what's really important for everyone to understand is we're all measured by results. So you have to decide who you want to be. And when you think of this question we've been having on this panel of how to attract sheroes, a book that comes to mind is actually a book about male athletes of all things, but Tim Grover's book, Relentless. If you haven't read Relentless before, it talks about the idea of people in life who are closers versus cleaners. And it talks about the folks who need someone to sing their praises in order for them, is that their motivation to get their work done, or someone who just knows they're good and is going to get their work done regardless, and who shows up when they're getting those results. And when I think of the definition of the word shero, I think of this awesome lady who is a cleaner in the definition of that book. And cleaner, someone who doesn't even need you to say they did a good job, and they just show up and get it done because they know that it's their gift and they're going to show up with excellence. They're going to knock it out. And it's just a powerful thought for you. So as you're thinking of that, you want to bring it out. One other book recommendation before we move to the next question, for those of you that work with female leaders that are introverted and male leaders that are introverted, okay, the book Quiet, powerful book that will help you learn how to communicate. It's not just different communicating with men and women, it's also important to communicate well with introverts and extroverts on your team. And Quiet will help you unpack the difference between the two. And it's just, as I'm hearing Belynda share these different office relationships and different leadership opportunities, those are two books that will help you be a better leader and help you build stronger teams as you're leading your organizations. Thank you. All right, back to you, Gail.
Good answer.
Yeah, amen.
All right. Thank you for those insights, and thank you for those book recommendations, Sir Ben. The next question is, Belynda, if there was only one new practice that a team or a company had the bandwidth to deploy, what would you suggest that they deploy in terms of attracting sheroes to their organization?
I find that men will mentor another men very easily. Women tend to lack in that area. I think women needs to sponsor more women and mentor others as well. If there's one practice I would say to practice to initiate in a company, is actually to have the female leaders take on someone else, to mentor them, to sponsor them, to help them grow in that capacity. I find it's quite clear, it's quite distinctive as well when you see a group of men working together. It's they're supporting each other, you know, they're having their very hot topic discussions, and they could have that debate in the boardroom. And when they're out, you know, they have a beer and we're all cool. Females are different, women's different. They debate in the boardroom, they carry it back home. And that becomes a competitive arena. It's like, no, that's totally wrong. You need to just leave the boardroom and be okay, go shopping or something. But at the same time, take on someone else, take on another female colleague of yours, a junior, and then help them step up to their plate, help them become better, help them to grow into the biggest capacity. If there's one thing that needs to happen, and is that. And once a junior comes in and they're growing their capacity, they'll talk about the company. They will say, I worked for the best company because I've actually grown so much. And not that I'm not giving the opportunity, and guess who's not giving me the opportunity is a she, not a he. So that's something that I think all corporation needs to really practice, is that take someone else, a female, and then make them and grow into into the biggest capacity.
You know, it's so wonderful you share that. Is I look back on who's made a real difference, even in our own organization. You know, in the software company, my staff and myself have run for the last few years. It's been 13 years of our trek from 7 employees to 65, and those mentorship calls have meant everything. If you look at the people who've become leaders in our organization, that track, I can see exactly what you're saying, Belynda. You know, more than half of our leadership seats are women in our organization, and are incredible Shero leaders. And so thinking through how their journeys got them there, it was through other women leaders too that mentored them in that time. So I've seen that play out. What you're saying, it really rings true in my mind. I know Ms. Gale's out in her head. I'm thinking about each of the women who poured into so many people in our organization. I have seen that to be very, very true. We call it TDC, which is another book recommendation. $1 Trillion Coach. We call it TDC time. That's what we call it in our organization. Our sponsoring and mentoring time is, hey, go get an hour at TDC time, and people do that for periods of time on a weekly basis with another team member.
And that's awesome. And that's awesome to have that individual time on the mentorship time. I mean, women should be able to feel safe in the where they work, and not to have to go to work and goes, oh my gosh, someone's going to be at me for today to do this and that. No, women should go into an office and feel that this person, like if I go into office, I can count on someone else. Like I can go to a senior female executive or a manager to talk my heart out and not having word to be yelled at, or even to be put down or to be belittled, right? So that's a lot of that happens. The reality is that, I mean, we can sugarcoat everything and make it look beautiful, but the reality of the workforce is a competitive environment. When there's another female, it can be a male too as well, I mean, sees another female doing well, I mean, it becomes a war. And you don't want that. You really want the real cohesiveness between all the genders, between the man and the female, especially the female. I think needs to adopt and make other females a safe place to be in, because already you are minorities. And if you are going to strike out the other person, you're going to be even a bigger minority. So I would actually recommend, you know, for companies out there, executives, is that, you know, really have a warm hug and welcome all those that are coming, like the Shereos, and help them grow and be better employees in your organization.
Thank you for that, Belynda. And our last question is actually, if you could go back in time 10 years, knowing all that you know now, what would you tell yourself?
10 years, what would I tell myself? I would say, for all the Shereos out there, when an opportunity comes to you, and I'm speaking to the Shereos, when an opportunity comes to you, they normally come to you at the most inconvenient state. And don't ever be afraid to take that opportunity, whether it is to it's a brand new gig or a brand new position or a brand new company that you have no idea with, you absolutely no clue of, but if it's presented to you, that means there's the opportunities is there, and you need to get out of your element to do it. Why do I say that? And Ben, you just said, I've worked in North America, I've worked in Asia, now in Middle East. So 5 years ago, I was given this opportunity to come to Dubai. It was not planned. It was something that it just was thrown onto me. And it was also quite inconvenient because we were just finishing building our house, and we're like, okay, we built this beautiful home and then we're about to leave. So, but I took on that position because I thought, you know, I've never lived in Middle East, and what have I got to lose? I have nothing to lose, but everything to gain, because all the cultures and all how they do business here, and that just covers another continent. So growth for us as humans are is abundant. The growth is there. The growth opportunities are there. It's whether you're men or women, you need to take upon yourself to step out of it, like step out of your comfort zone. We talk about it a lot, and events talk about it a lot, speakers talk about it a lot, about stepping out of your comfort zone. But when you're thrown that opportunity to step out, are you actually taking it? Are you actually doing a 360 to adopt that change? That is, again, a change management that I'm involved with in corporation, but also individually. Or 10 years ago, I would say, take on, do something new, not be afraid to be so cautious as calculating every single thing out there that it's going to work out. Because in life, what I've learned is it doesn't matter how much you planned, it's never going to turn out the way you plan it. It never will. But it will set up another path for you. And one door closes, another one open. That is indeed very true. But mentally, you have to be ready for that, to dive into something new and to accept it, that it's a learning curve and to grow. And the last thing I want to leave with all of you is that it's never a right or wrong in life. It's always, you make the best decision based on the information you got today. And tomorrow it could be different again. And so what? And that's life. You just move on, you learn, and you correct yourself, and it just keeps going on. That's the beauty of life.
You know what I love about that picture you just painted, Belynda, as we wrap up the call? So many people think the road to success is like this, right? And there's this meme that's gone around social media a lot that I really enjoy. I don't go on social media very much, but I had a friend share it with me where they said the road to success is this.
Yes.
And you, so many times when we meet with folks who have been able to achieve or do some of the projects you've been able to do in your life, they've echoed that same thought. And we have to remember that many times the thing we think is the thing, it's the fruit or the stepson or the stepson and stepson of that thing that really becomes the value we're creating in the world. And you just have to be open to what's next and how we're really solving for challenges in this space. I'm so grateful you took the time to be here with us today, Belynda. It's just an absolute total treat. I'm looking forward to sharing this episode with the members of the DSEF and those who are here on our podcast. We just want to say we appreciate you. We're grateful for you for being here, and wishing you all the best in this next season with all the work you do in the space. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to share my insights. Thank you.
All right. And for those of you that are attending today, if this was your first DSEF event and you would once again are looking for access to the rest of the information, go to directSellingExecutiveForum.com, or you can go to LinkedIn and type in the Direct Selling Executive Forum to get access to the rest of the episodes. Thank you so much for being here today. Gail, thank you for hosting as always. Belynda, it was wonderful to have you on. Have an amazing day, gang. And let's actually take action with what we learned today. Have a blessed day for now.
Thank you, Gail.
We'll see you soon. Bye for now.